Okay, guys, we're ready to start. I have the great privilege today to introduce to you the guy that I think is responsible for selling more games in modern pinball than anyone else, for bringing in more dollars for pinball than anybody else. The guy we know as the King. How many of you own or have owned a game by Steve Ritchie? I don't think I need to say any more. You know the guy, he's here today, he's going to tell you about the making of Star Trek, his most recent game. He's going to entertain you and plenty of opportunity to ask questions. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to the King himself, Mr. Steve Ritchie.
This thing on. Test 1, 2. When Gary Stern was up here, I could not hear one word he said. Nothing. Okay, my name is Brian Kelly, and I make pinball machines. And there he is back there. We swap badges just for fun. Wow. I do love coming to Texas. This is one of my favorite shows. I don't say that all the time either. People are nice in Texas. There's a lot of pinball love here, and I do feel it. Wow, lots happened in the last year. Star Trek has come around, and we've been working very hard on it. And I want to make sure that I credit everyone that worked on the game. Only I'm going to need some glasses. They're right in my bag, right in that little front compartment there. You don't even have to unzip. All right, that's great. I'm really vain. I just turned 65, and I don't want to wear glasses, okay? I don't need them most of the time. Anyway, I would like to credit everybody that worked on Star Trek. This is a huge game. It encompassed almost everyone in engineering. It took a while to get the code squared away, but it is now, and I'm very happy with it. I think most people are. Anyway, I'd like to credit Lonnie Rupp for his software work. He probably did the mouse code. Wei-Sun Chang, who's also like a Star Trek, kind of a Star Trek historian. He knows an awful lot about it. And, I can remember a lot of things, and I also refresh my memory by watching old episodes or whatever, but he doesn't have to do that. He's got it all, locked in his head. Daniel Kleiss, a new programmer at Stern, who's done a great job for systems, some effects. He helped us with speech, the cleaning up of the speech and recording it. Mike Kizabat, special thanks to Mike Kizabat. This guy is, he's a dots coder, but he also did the Klingon voice for the game. And, it's like, I really like it when people make a personal contribution. It's different than doing what you're supposed to do, When you get up there and, patak, it's like, it's just cool. It's a nice thing to do, and he didn't have to, but he did, and he was great at it. Jack Benson, another young programmer, he did a few effects and also some very nice rule twists. Dwight Sullivan, who I worked with on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Dwight is like a world-class gamer. That's it. His life is about games. So, I have my pinball side, but I have other things too. But, he likes board games, poker, all kinds of games, every kind you can think of, role-playing, magic. He's crazy, but he's really good with rules, and he understands the psychology of getting people to like the game. Lyman Sheets also consulted a little bit. He didn't write any code, but he had some very good input from a high-end player standpoint. For mechanical engineering on the game, John Rothermel was the lead. He creates the smoothest ramps I've ever seen. and he loves it. That's his thing. You know, he'll do the rest of the stuff, but when he gets to ramps, he goes crazy. He loves it. It's so smooth. He's half German and half French. It's so smooth, Steve. So it is. And when he's done, it's awesome. Mike Redoble, who engineered the Vengeance ship, pretty much. He's a talented guy, and the ship works well. I'm totally happy with it. Anybody have a problem with their Vengeance ship? All right, no hands. I like that. Quality control there, Gary. See that? Another mechanical engineer. His name is Rob Blakeman. He's kind of like a low-key. We make fun of him. You know, we say, well, Rob likes to start with no. You know, you go in, you're going to get a no first. But after that, he'll say yes. Great work. And also Tom Copera. He helped us a lot with the side armor lighting and all that. And wow. For the playfield, cabinet and plastics and flyer art, Greg Puris was the art director. He also did the playfield. John Yowsey contributed, and Kevin O'Connor. And also a new young guy we have named Stephen Martin, who's a terrific, enthusiastic guy who just works his butt off. That's it. For electrical and electronic, we have a guy named Andrew Pines and a lady named Reina Cortez, and these people are professionals. It's like, Reina's awesome. Sometimes I go and ask her AutoCAD questions because she uses parts of AutoCAD that I don't. She always has the answer. For technical work, Galby Alvarez and Dave Cadeau, both these people are in our tech lab, and it's mostly tracking bill of materials and cost. And Dave Cadeau is a technician who worked in an arcade for a very long time. For dot matrix art, I've got quite a list here. Mark Galvez, the lead, a very talented guy. I like working with him. We like movies, so we talk about them a lot. We have that in common, definitely. Anyway, Mark Galvez, Tom Kizivat, K-Y-Z-I-V-A-T. That's one hell of a Scrabble score. You think about that. It's like 200 points. Okay, Jack Liddon, who I've known for a long time. He's an IGT artist and daughter of a lady that Gary worked with and I worked with for a long time. Phyllis, her first name was Otis. Later she married Marty Rosenthal, so we call her Phyllis Rosenthal. Kurt Anderson, Scott Melchionda, Kelly Mazurowski, Norm Badillo, Rory O'Donnell. All those people contributed to the dots. And I especially want to thank George Gomez, okay? Star Trek was the first game where I let another designer get involved, but he had good ideas, and I liked his stuff. George has a nice touch with industrial design, no question. He helped out with the look of the game, in terms of the asteroids, some work on the side armor. I came up with the original, but he cleaned it up and it looked a lot better when he did it. Anyway, special thanks to George. As far as Star Trek goes, it's water under the bridge. Now I'm going to tell you some other stories. This one is about pyrotechnics and pinball. I had many friends. Barry Osler, Tony Kramer, Dennis Nordman was there, Pat Lawler, my brother. There was a whole lot of us making games at Williams, and Barry and I kind of had a thing. I'm not sure how it happened, but one day I took a bottle rocket in one of these screamers, and it exploded at the end, and I lit it up and stuck it under his door of his office. And I heard, "You son of a bitch!" I heard that on the inside, bam! Okay, loved it. The president found out about it, and he said, you know, you should use a metal plate on the floor so the carpet doesn't get burned. Which we did. We did that, and I actually built a wall in my office, so if he sent a bottle rocket in, it would hit the wall before it got into my office. But it didn't matter. It was a big, smoky, stinky mess. One day I came in, I think it was Flash, And, I was pretty new there. I come into my game, and I can't wait to play. It's like the third day maybe that it was up and running. And so I turn it on, and I start a game, and it goes, boom! And the whole cabinet filled up with smoke, okay? It was a car bomb. You could buy them then and connect them to the ignition and go off. Tony Kramer did that to me. Then there were the M1000 events. This is the Chicago River was right behind Williams, and this was insane, okay? But I was a firebug, always. I had a wrist rocket, and this M1000, which is this big. And I'd pull it back, and someone else would light it, and I'd let it go. It would fly into the river, make a huge explosion, and the police would come. We'd run inside. People inside the building came out and said, "Why don't you tell us you're going to do that?" It shook the windows. Yeah. Anyway, fun with pyrotechnics. Some other things, okay? When we worked together at Williams, also with Stern, maybe not so much because, well, you have to have the right title for the right derogatory name, okay? When Bad Cats came out, of course, we called it Bad Game. When High Speed came out, immediately Barry Osler called my game High Cost. And I made No Fear. They called it No Finger. That's that thing right there. And also No Fun. Okay. I have a list here, but I'm going to interrupt this for just a minute and tell you a little story about my brother and I. My brother was making Indiana Jones. Cool game. Awesome. And I would go in his office or just stand at the door and go, da 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 da. And he would come in my room and go, well, I was making Star Trek, da 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 da. It's kind of rude, but it's what happened. Some other names. What is it? Let's see. It's Whoa Nelly Big Juicy Lemons. Came up with that one myself. Okay. Firewood. And Larry DeMar actually called every game that he didn't like at Williams or anywhere else firewood, meaning you just throw it in the fire. Twilight Zone internally was Toilet Zone. That was it. Wow, here's an interesting story. This is let's see, we made Hyperball. And actually Hyperball barely worked when we first showed it. Barely worked. And so actually I spent the whole time at the show, at the AMOA show at the Hilton Hotel, standing by the back box where we had 3 secret buttons that I could touch to reverse the ball feed mechanism to get it working because it jammed so often, and to reset the whole game and try to make it look like, oh, what happened? Okay, and it was like, some people figured it out, but not many. And there were 2 lines going up to the thing, and it was just packed with people. They wanted to play it. So Hyperball was cool. It was fun. My spec was, let me fire 6 balls a second. And it did. It did that. It's just the ball lifting mechanism wasn't so hot. So later on, Bally came out with a game called what? What was the name of that game? Rapid Fire. It was Rapid Fire. All right. Well, Jim Patla, when we acquired Bally and the people, okay, we got to talking about everything, and Jim Patla told me, oh yeah, Rapid Fire. We called it Project Xerox in-house. Okay. All right. There it is. For Barry, another special place, I love to, I tried to burn him with fireworks, but it never actually worked. His comet became Vomit. That's what we called it. Just Roadkill, okay, that was that name. And Attack from Mars, this one's cool. The Cornmen from Mars. Okay, the next one is one of Pat Waller's masterpieces, I think, maybe. It was, the name was Safecracker, but the guys that had to put them in the box and load them, they called it Backbreaker. And then there was Safe Crapper and Butt Cracker. I don't know where that came from. These are all internal names for Safecracker. And the last one is, with respect to someone who passed on, Mike Kubin, who called his Sea Witch. He called it himself. He always called it Sea Bitch. That's what he said. A character. What else do I want to say? I want to say this as discreetly and as nicely as I can. Buy my game. Buy my game. Buy Star Trek. Might as well try the direct approach. What else? I don't really have much more to say. I mean, I could speak forever, but because you guys are a bunch of family, it's like, every family has the retard and, never mind. Okay, it's like, but you guys are like a family and I'm totally comfortable with that, but I think I'm going to answer some questions now. And whatever you got. And Gary, could you come on up and be translator? I'm almost deaf, folks. And in this room, it's very hard for me to hear, but I really don't need to hear myself. Here it comes.
You've been designing games for a while. Are you still enjoying it just as much as years ago, designing games?
Do you enjoy designing games as much now as you did years ago?
No, it's a grind. I hate it. It's disgusting. Okay, my game and my job, it's nothing means more to me. My life is pinball. I love making games. I'm not going to quit anytime soon unless they fire me, and then I'll go find another job. No, I like it a lot, and I'm just as happy to make games as I've ever been. There's another question.
Right, there's a lovely statue in the exhibit of Terminator. Are you going to take it home with you?
It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. It would be stealing. I did get my picture taken with it, though.
In this week, there's been a trade show in Vegas.
Yes.
And I believe that you got the award for Star Trek.
Yes, I'm proud to say in Las Vegas, Gary received our award for Operator's Choice, Playmeter Magazine Operator's Choice for Star Trek. And, a great team that worked really hard to make this happen.
Yell. From far away, I can yell. Hello.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, with the way the forums are going, when you decide...
Wait, an Australian is this far away from me and you think you're going to communicate?
I've travelled this far.
Wait, is this John?
I'm Australian.
Let Gary translate. It would be a help. Thank you.
People designing pinball, some other people like input from the community, from forums. So some other games have had a lot of interference from outside sources to make the game better. I'm wondering if it frustrates you when you design a game when people say you should have done this or this, or do you welcome the feedback?
This time we kind of threw the doors open. We were looking for an answer because very few people on our team, outside of Lyman and Lyman Sheets, are players that can get to this high-end, ridiculous play. Martin Iab is another one. He's a good one. He's a good player. Okay, there are some people that do very well, and if we don't reach that level, we don't know what's right or wrong with it. And so, yeah, we welcome the input, and some people are just a total PIA, but it's okay. There's a lot of reasons. Like one guy said recently on Pinside, why do you not let me just go, level 1, prime directive, then go down to level 2 and level 3? Why doesn't it automatically go there? Well, okay, the first thing is there's a bunch of people playing this game, and they're not all, top-level players. In fact, very few are. And in the case of, picking missions, the computer tries to give the player, to set him up for getting 3 missions in a row. It's a first award, and it turns out that that and our color coding made the game earn a lot of money on the street because it's easy for newbies to understand the game. And if we had just gone down 1, 2, okay, let's say you complete, prime directive 1, what do I do with the light? Blink it again? I mean, I can't do it, But if you want to shift back, then you can do it. You can make the choice if you know how to do it. But if you don't know how, it moves on in the next progressive move that I think it educates players who don't know what they're doing. That's just one example of people that say, why didn't you do this? We have to please a huge array of people, really good players and newbies who will walk up to it, and if they lose the ball too soon, or they're not having fun, I got to pack as much as I can in 2 minutes, okay, to make sure that they have their money's worth and they have fun and they want to come back and play it again. Okay. That was sort of a rant, so stop it. I'm kidding.
So, Steve, in the last year, we've lost unique characters in Michelangelo. What can you tell us about working with Python?
With who?
Python Angelo.
Oh, Python? Crazy man. Good heart. Really good heart. Yeah, I miss him.
The question was experiences of working with Python Angelo, who passed in the last year.
He had a lot of very interesting ideas. I worked with him on high speed. That was about the only game. After that, my brother did many games with him and others in the company. I miss him, he was a character, one of a kind. They broke the mold when they made Python. There's no question, okay?
I heard they broke the mold before they made Python.
I didn't hear that.
They broke the mold before they made Python.
Yeah, maybe they did. They broke the S. I think you're right. There's a big leak across here.
Great guy. Okay, next question.
There's one over there.
Yeah, sure. Try that.
Steve, two questions on Star Trek.
This isn't going to work, sir. You're going to have to tell. You can go ahead and ask the question.
So
I'm sorry.
Two questions. First is the code essentially done now? And what features did you really want in the game that didn't make it?
Okay. So
I should have let you speak. I'm sorry.
the question is about Star Trek. Is the code complete? Is the first question.
Okay. I am very happy with the code as it is. There are a few things we'd like to get to. Whether or not we do and when, we reserve the right to decide when, how, and where.
That really anticipates the next question, is what else would you like to have seen in Star Trek?
Maybe some more lighting effects, I suppose. There's a few things I would like to jazz up. Like when you finish a mission, I think there should be some cool, something cool that happens. Even just a light show, a short one, just to let you know that you finished the mission.
It's a kind of like a reward for taking.
Yeah. I mean, you finish the mission. You actually do know now, but it's still not. I don't know. You should give the player a little more.
Do you think we might see that?
Possibly. It's like, I can't say for sure. I'm not in charge of the software department, and I'm not going to obligate them. However, Dwight is very interested in continuing work on it.
So at what point does someone say, that's enough time spent on that game?
That can happen a whole bunch of ways. I suppose, in terms of Star Trek, it was, there was a lot of talk about it before we had finished it. People were a little upset, and we got to it the best we could.
Do you think there'll be any further development on Star Trek, or is it done?
I'm totally satisfied with it. I mean, as far as the play goes, there's a couple of bugs that we know about that came about since 1.61, but they're not serious, and 99% of the people in the world are never going to see them.
Yes, sir.
So asking to
Does this work now? Steve, can you hear me if I talk with this?
It doesn't matter whether they can hear you or not. Gary can hear you.
Okay. I'm very impressed with Stern's business model and secrecy. In Australia, we're bombarded with conspiracy theories and that the President of the US can have oral sex in his office and the whole world finds out. But Stern can build a pinball and design it and no one knows about it till it's released. How do you maintain...
Okay, your question is way too long. I'm not going to answer it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's to do with oral sex. It's okay.
The question is, how is it that Stern is so successful in keeping future games secret until they're ready to let them out?
It's Gary Stern. He threatens us with, well, a lot of things, actually. Sometimes he's been known to carry a knife at times, and so... No, he doesn't do that. No, we know the value. We are not a public company. We do not, we're not taking money up front. When you buy a pinball machine, it's already done. We build them daily, okay? We're a pinball machine company. We're working to build pinball machines every day. When you want to buy a pinball machine, we've got one for you in the box. We don't ask for money up front. We don't ask for anything. If you like the game, buy it and you will get it. That's another Stern plug, isn't it?
Okay, next question.
But it is true. I mean, we are the only company who does that today. And I think you guys have seen what's going on. A lot of these, boutique companies are kind of coming apart. And I feel bad for all the people that, I mean, pinball is a huge thing to build. It's a mountain, okay? It's Mount Everest. And to build 10, not so bad. To build 100, your life is going to be miserable, and you better bring a lot of money, more than anybody else has thrown at it, because it's a very expensive thing to get into.
Next question. When are we going to see your next game, and what will be ahead of that?
My next game will be released exactly on the 35th day of Cunegonda. That's what we can talk about. I'm not going to tell you dates. We're not going to talk about that game. No, we're excited about it. It's been fun. It's also grief, and we don't talk about our next games.
Do you happen to have another music pin in you?
I got a few.
Do you like Iron Maiden?
It's not like I don't like them. I just think, okay, I'm going to compare all music games to AC/DC. I went around. I mean, I've always loved AC/DC. I just have. They rock, and so does everybody else across this huge age demographic. 10-year-old kids have them on their iPods. I mean, they got Back in Black. They have all the tunes that all the famous ones, and all the way up to people my age and older, like Gary. Gary's older, and Dennis Nordman's older too. Damn it! All right. Anyway, it's a huge demographic. I do not see that. I don't see it with Iron Maiden. I just don't. I think it's cool, but I'm just wondering if people are going to come out of the woodwork to buy our game. And I always want to choose a license that we're going to have the broadest response from the broadest, array of people or demographics. It's a smart thing to do. And it's like, maybe Skippy will make you your Iron Maiden game. I don't think it's going to be me, and I'm not going to say that Stern will never do it. I have no idea. It's not up to me, but it's not my, I don't want that. It's like, I don't know, there's only a few bands, that really tear it up across huge demographics, and I would stick with them. Not sure what, though, right now.
Somebody else?
Any other questions? Come on, don't be bashful. I'm not.
Yes, I have a question. I've been playing pinball and arcade games my whole life, of course. And who is your primary customer now? Because I go to any arcade or any kind of location that might even have a machine like a bar. I don't see pinball machines anymore. And if there is one, it's one it's broken with an out of order sign on it for decades. Are y'all primarily making them for collectors now, or is it like are you dedicating some to going to actual what left to be a bar, an arcade, or are you primarily making for collectors now?
I heard most of that. It's about our target audience, correct? Okay. You know what? When I make a game, I try to target everyone. I want everyone to love my game. I do. And most of us designers want that, you know. We have to look at the commercial end. We have to look at enthusiasts. We have to look at very high-end players and collectors. And I think we are making a game right now that does a pretty good job, okay, in one model or another of supplying what that segment needs. I hear some frustration in your voice. I'm not sure what it was about. What was it about? Cost?
No, it's just
Availability?
who do you design games for? Collectors? Or
No, we try to hit everybody. We have to. You know, we have to be versatile. We have to make games that make money on the street, make people happy in their game rooms, make people happy as collectors.
I've got a question for you, Steve. How do you decide what goes in an LE game and what goes in a pro game?
I don't know, I just do it. You know, it's like, there's only, you know, there's some, an LE has a, LE is going to have, it's going to have bling, it's going to have extras, it's going to have a more dynamic personality. I know it sounds strange, it's like talking about a person, but it actually can become kind of like a person, you know? It's like the game can live, that's it.
Do you start with the LE and take stuff out for the
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't say take stuff out, but I would say take some stuff out.
So this is a question about Steve Ritchie playing people on your games. How good are you at achieving all the targets? So, for example, on Spider-Man, do you achieve all the objectives every time you play the game?
No, I'm a bit better than average. People that have played pinball with me know that. You know, I can have a good game. It all depends on what I'm playing, though. It's like if I'm doing, 20 or 30 games of Star Trek a day, I'm going to beat you probably. But Lyman Sheets can come in, and several others of the company, and just annihilate me very quickly. I have some skills. What I pride myself on is I'm a little better than the average guy, but I also feel what the average guy feels when he plays the game. And so the front end, that's what I call the end, the player's first experience. I want to make sure that that is easy and accessible and inviting, and exciting. And that's the part I get the most involved in. But when we start talking about higher end rules, I began to study them much more. Lyman's a master at this. He's a great programmer, but he's also a great rules maker. And now that Dwight's with us, I think there's some great strengths now, and it's I like their styles, and they are teaching me things that I need to know about high-end pinball. As far as getting there, though, I mean, I could set it up by hand and play 5-year mission, but I never have, and I don't want to. I want to talk to people that have, like Keith Elwin. And do you have a question, sir?
A question from Martin from Pinball News.
Most designers, when they design a game, put certain features in which a novice or somebody unfamiliar with the game can instantly identify who designed that game. Does Steve have any of those in his design, and what will they be? What are his signature features?
Okay, Steve.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be your signature features in a game?
I don't know. I like nice, smooth, flowing shots. I do like that. Feels good to me. But I also like, there's so much. Pinball is related to billiards in many ways. It's satisfying to make a great shot, to pull up, the exact angle that you want to make, and I don't know, there's something nice about doing that. You all know what I'm talking about. There are shots that are fun to make and they just are so satisfying, or there's also many others that just aren't, don't get it for you. And you can, when you find a good shot, I think, I like to enhance it with sound and rewards, speech sometimes. I don't know.
I'd like to ask the audience a question.
Okay.
And that is, what are your favourite features on the Steve Ritchie games?
Upper flipper shots, back shots, like high speed, and all those.
Okay. So that's, for those of you that couldn't hear, that's upper flipper shots that score jackpots. What other favourite features on Steve games? Mr. Australia.
Hello.
Again.
In the same response, I've got my next gen sitting next to my Star Trek LE, and the warp ramp shot, especially if you can loop it a number of times. It's impossible in next gen.
So making loops.
Making loop, is that a deliberate feature between both machines? So the left outlaying kickback and that warp ramp shot, is that deliberate homage?
So the comment is that on your latest Star Trek game, you have loop shots. Loop shots. Loop on the warp ramp, going round and round. Is it in your intention to replicate what you did on the Next Generation game?
Not on Next Generation. The idea is much older than that. I copy myself. Okay, I admit it, all right? The idea comes from, wow, No Fear did that. I like repeating ramps. It's fun, and I don't know, you can get the ball going very fast. It's fun, it's exciting, and when I think about shots on the playfield, most people are right-handed. I put that flipper there and that shot over there because, I don't know, there's something really nice about it. Maybe it should go somewhere else, though, next time. I don't know. But I like feeding it back.
I think you had that feature on high speed.
Yes.
Of making loops?
Yeah, you could loop and it would fall back down, but not as smooth as Star Trek, and not as fast.
At the back.
Who back here? Is Stern's in process of designing a full-size LCD screen to replace the DMD screen anytime soon? Or are they going to go with a color DMD or anything or are they going to leave the same thing?
Okay, so this is a question about the future of pinball in terms of, are we going with color DMDs or LCD screens? What are we going to see?
I think we're going to go back to those Viewmasters, the kind of thing where you're looking at I can't really, pinball visuals are, it's two shoestrings and a hubcap. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay. I guess the answer is wait and see.
This isn't about Iron Maiden, so. Do you think you possibly, let's say, since now you're working for Stern, is it possible that you can revisit older titles? Like, do you have a trilogy that you would love to complete? I know, Mark finished Firepower 2, but Firepower 3 maybe, or a Black Knight 3000, or High Speed 3?
Okay, so the question is, are there any of your old titles that you'd like to revisit?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe in the future. We'll see what happens. I don't want people to accuse me of repeating myself. They have before. Black Knight 2000, and which was that? We need 3000. I'd like to. We'll see what the world brings. I don't really know how it's going to turn out here, but yeah, I wouldn't mind doing very fast driving. Maybe.
Maybe a couple more questions.
This might be speaking out of turn slightly, but I won't go into a long history, but I ended up buying Lyman Sheets' Twilight Zone machine, which I guess you guys as designers often got a free copy of a machine kind of as part of your contract. When I negotiated with him, when I was talking with him, he basically said I didn't use it because I don't really like Pat Pat Lawler. Now, I was just wondering if there's any stories you can tell about like sort of disagreements among designers or kind of famous, I don't like you because of this or that. Not to, go into anything that you wouldn't want to say, but just something kind of funny.
The question is...
It's a 15-part question, I could tell.
Tell us about fights between designers, disagreements between people on design teams.
Fights between designers really don't happen. Now I'm trying to think. Fights between designers.
Come on, there must be disagreements when you sit around the table and someone wants to do this and someone else is saying, no, do that.
Well, I mean, the only real major, I don't know, it's like, this guy actually took everything I had on my game and went to Bali with it once. That's about as mad as I've ever been at a designer. It only happened once, Generally, we get along because we're not working on a project together. If we had to work together, I think it would be hell. But I don't know. I mean, I've never done it, so, but it's, between designers, we don't have arguments. I mean, there's been like petty little things like, you used my idea. Yeah, but you already had. And so that was the rule we had at Williams. If you had an idea, you could use it first in your game. But they bent that rule a lot too. Like the first dot matrix didn't go into Terminator, it went into, what's the name of it?
Gilligan.
Yes, Gilligan's Island, that's right. But for the most part, that is the rule in pinball. It's sort of unwritten, After you use something, you pass it on and everybody else can use it in the company. And we don't have the authority really to do this, but usually, people are in charge, and like Gary, he's not seeing what we're doing, but that's a very small thing. No arguments between designers.
What about working on licensed games or unlicensed games? What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts?
Licensed or unlicensed?
Headache, anguish, torture. Actually, some licenses go extremely well, very smooth. People get it, that we're making pinball machines, and they want us to, like AC/DC. What a beautiful license that was. We went in, do what you want. Hand me a hard drive full of everything, pictures, all their music. We had to, get some songs, but never any grief about anything. I think the only thing they really wanted is they wanted one new song from Black Ice, and we picked War Machine, so that went in there. The rest of it was just one beautiful ride from beginning to end. Awesome. Other licenses like Star Trek The Next Generation, this was a horror show. This was, we go to Los Angeles to Paramount, and they take us on a tour, and we're like on the bridge of the Enterprise, and standing and fooling around on the holodeck and the transporter. It was great, and then we went to have lunch, and right behind me, Patrick Stewart is talking, and you can hear his pipes. It's like, it was like chills, but you're not allowed to talk to anybody unless they speak to you. Anyway, we sat down and talked to these three ladies who were running licensing, and they said, well, you can't shoot phasers, and you can't have any photon torpedoes, and no violence. And we kind of said, I said, at the end of the lunch, I said, look, I can't make a namby-pamby, I understand the prime directive. We're not, the captain doesn't, start wars, but he definitely responds when there's threats. And they didn't get it. And so we walked away from it and got on the bus, went back to the plane, took off, and Roger Sharp kind of salvaged it. He called up and he said, well, what can we do to salvage this? We're having trouble. It's these people, some of the people there at Paramount do not understand what we're trying to do. And they appointed a new lady to run licensing, and she was awesome. Her name was Susie Dominic, totally cooperative, knew the mythos of Star Trek front to back. And we did, we worked together with them, splendidly. There's an English word.
Okay. A couple more questions before we get on.
John, tell me when Williams closed what you did with all the stuff. Tell that story.
Okay. when Williams closed, what did you do with all the stuff?
When Williams closed, I had already been in California for 4 years. Okay, let's sit right there. I didn't do anything with the stuff. I was not there. I left in 1996. For me, the writing was on the wall. I went to work at Atari, and then Atari became a Williams company while I was trying to get work there, which was great. You know, I went to Atari and I produced a couple of video games, and one of them never made it. It was just, it got to be a mess. The end of the third year was terrible, and the fourth year. And then finally, you know, Williams said, okay, we're going to cut off. We're not going to build any more coin-operated games, not video. So they closed Atari, closed Midway, closed Williams Electronics Games. But I wasn't there to get any of the stuff. I don't know. I didn't hear that.
I think the comment is, did they just throw it away? I think Steve's already said.
No, it wasn't thrown away. Matt Cristiano and Rick Bartlett have bought a huge amount of, you know, what was left over after that. And then there was, who's the loony bin out here? Yeah, Gene Cunningham, he had a lot of the stuff. I think Matt and Rick have, you know, a lot of the archives and that. I think they have everything that was kind of cool.
Okay, so
they didn't. Okay.
So essentially, whatever's left is with Matt and Rick Bartlett. It's in their custody. What last question?
So do you like the way we're going with LED pinballs and things like that, where everything is lit up and blinking and flashing, or do you
Haven't you played Star Trek? Have you never played Star Trek? Okay. Lights up the whole room. Yeah.
But do you think there's a chance for games like Whoa Nelly and stuff like that, where they're, you know, more general lighting and?
You know, I'll tell you what, LEDs are great for us, not for the reasons you're thinking about maybe, but they're great for us on an operating standpoint, okay? You walk into a pinball machine in 1996 or a bar and they have a lot of pinball machines, you know, you'll see 10 light bulbs out and the game will look dark and dingy and, oh, if the light bulb's out, what else is wrong? Well, we don't have that problem anymore. The lighting just lasts and lasts. LEDs are very durable. They make the game look bright and inviting even if the guy hasn't cleaned it in 2 months. Okay, I'm not saying there isn't a place for delicate lighting. It's just never going to happen in any of my games. Come on, when you shoot a shot, don't you, you want to be excited. You want to have fun. You want a nice visual reward, audio, whatever we can throw at you. If you deserve it, you deserve it. If it bothers you, start wearing sunglasses. Just kidding.
Okay, and with that, Steve's going to be around for the next couple of days. I'm sure you'll see him walking around the exhibit hall. If you've got any questions, any comments, he's very approachable. He's a great guy. So can I ask you to put your hands together and a round of applause for Steve Ritchie.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love coming here. I love the Texas Pinball Festival. Good to see you.